All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special interview. We have Allan Kee Wee Funk in the house with myself, Isaac, my co-host Shane. Dozer is not with us tonight because Dozer again is, I think, at an alien conspiracy convention. So
that freaking bum.
Yeah, I know, but we are so excited to have you here, man. It's one of those things that we always like. Anytime we saw you on a pay-per-view, because we review a lot of old pay-per-views, anytime you popped up, I think all of us got excited. It was like, Kee Wee!
Shit, I wish the office would have got that damn excited.
I know, man. Well, I mean, yeah. I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit. But let's go back, man. Before we got on, you mentioned growing up in Ohio, man. And what was that like in like the late 70s, early 80s, as you're sort of, turning into a person, man, growing up in outside of Cleveland?
Shoot, man, I would have changed my childhood for nothing. I'm from a small town, but everybody was we grew up like kids should grow up, outside, making your own stuff going on, and not sitting behind a computer desk. I don't know how these kids do it these days.
Yeah, it's got to be. I couldn't even do it when I was a kid, when it was all starting. I was like, computers? This has been a learning curve, this thing.
Yeah, shooting. And we didn't even get cable till I was probably in high school. I grew up, in a middle-class family. We didn't have any money. But when the cable finally come around the area, my dad kind of surprises with it. And, all I wanted to do was watch wrestling back then. So shit, I got the TBS, and then I could watch the, Georgia Championship Wrestling and NWA. And, then I watched Glow Wrestling on Saturday nights, me and mom and dad, and
hell yeah,
watched WWE from 10 o'clock. I think Superstar started, and then they had another show at 11. And then you watched I think it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They had that when they actually the show they showed Hulk Hogan wrestling the Sheik for the belt. And that's when I started becoming a Hulk Hogan fan.
Yeah, I was going to ask about him, but like right before that. So, was wrestling in like a pretty permanent thing from as long as you can remember in your household, or?
Yeah, man, shoot, that's all I ever wanted to do. Either, I used to tell my oldest sister, I'm the youngest of six. She actually passed away since then, but I always told her, one of these days I'm going to grow up. I'm going to be on TV somehow. And I told her I'd buy her a Corvette, but that never happened. But, so I just I knew I wanted to do something. I wanted to be on TV. I was fascinated with actors and wrestlers, and just wanted to try to get on TV somehow.
That's awesome. So you mentioned Triple H. You actually got to go to a Survivor Series in Richford, in Ohio.
Yeah, Richmond, or the Richfield Coliseum. That's where.
Yep. Yeah.
They I went to the first one. I actually got on film with my buddies where, I was only maybe 15, 14, something like that, and I'd rip my shirt off. I'm flexing, had the big 11-inch pythons floating around,
Hell yeah, man. I still do, man.
Actually, you know what? No, I was probably about, was it 15? Yeah. Cause then the next year I got my license, and since it was on Thanksgiving Day, a lot of my buddies, their parents wouldn't let them go. And shoot, my mom and dad, they trusted me, and it's not that they let me do anything I wanted, but I was like, man, I got my license. No one wants to go. I got to go. They were at my brother's house for Thanksgiving. So I drove up to Richfield, which is, hour and a half, 2 hour drive from where I grew up. And I had a 65 Plymouth Valiant that I spray painted Hulk Hogan on the hood, WWF on the roof. I had Hulkster down the sides, and I drove that up there. And, I thought I was big shit back then. I was a big, huge mark. And I actually caught his shirt. I got it sit on the wall.
Yeah, I was gonna say, dude, that is so cool. So he throws out his shirt, you catch it.
Yeah, since I was by myself, I got ringside seats. They had like one seat, so I said, "Fuck yeah, give me that one." And so I, when I was walking around and I was following him the whole time. I'm like, I got to catch his shirt, man. I told everybody at school I was going to catch it, and I don't know, it just the stars lined up. Boom, there it is, right in my arms. I'm fighting with this other guy. We're swinging, I'm pulling it. I'm a little skinny kid, at this point. So I grab it finally. I shove it down my pants. I don't want no one stealing it. So I had it down my pants the whole night because I didn't want nobody taking it. And I thought I was going to get beat up. So, then fast forward years later, I'm in WCW. I get Molly Holly's, good friends with Hulk, and I met him at a couple house shows, and he was always cool to me. But I was kind of I felt like a mark, man. I didn't want to ask him to sign it for me. So
Yeah, it's still Hulk Hogan.
yeah, man. So he'd always have his kids around, so I didn't want to bug him. So I was like, hey, Molly, Nora Greenwald, Molly Holly. I said, hey, can you ask Hogan to sign this for me? And she's like, yeah, no problem, man. So I was like, shit, that'd be awesome. So she come back, had it signed for me. It says to Allan, it says to Allan, stay strong and kayfabe, Hulk Hogan. So awesome. Then I put it in a big frame, and it's it's on my wall in my room.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, that is such a cool, like, stars lining up. You get some serendipity. That's a really cool story, and that's awesome that you still have that after.
Yeah, and Hogan was actually pretty cool. People say they meet their idols, and they're disappointed, but he was always hang out in the hallway. You'd walk by him, shake his hand, talk to him for a few minutes. He was always cool.
That's awesome. Well, that's good to hear because you hear all sorts of, but everyone likes to stir up the shit,
Oh yeah,
there's not.
He was an asshole, man. He told me to fuck off.
Oh shit! You'll get retweeted by Iron Sheik probably.
Right, yeah. He told me he was a Michigan fan. He hated Ohio State.
Well, you just brought up what was Molly like? What was working with Molly Holly?
Oh, dude, she was awesome, man. She's she's a blue collar girl, man, through and through. Her mom, raised her. Her mom and dad raised her right, and she was just a cool chick, man. She when we started doing stuff at the power plant, they'd send us to Nashville from Atlanta over the weekend, and we'd have to do 4 or 5 shows up there for the kind of developmental deal, just teaching us in front of crowds and stuff. And she'd always get all her stuff paid for. None of us did, so she'd let us use her rent a car, and we'd share a hotel room, whatever. So she was a cool chick, man. She was one of the boys, she was I couldn't say enough, good about Molly for sure.
I know she's one of Shane's favorites. So
which is cool.
Not ask, yeah.
Yeah, I had her on my show. You have to go back on YouTube and watch that one.
Yeah, plug it.
For sure.
It's youtube.com multicontinental wrestling /C/ shoot, I don't know. Multi-Continental Wrestling. It's on MWA Podcast Network on YouTube. Awesome. And you can also do it on Twitch, twitch.com/MWA World.
Great. We'll do that again at the end too, and we'll also put all those down in the comment section or in the
it's called Get Funked.
Get Funked. Awesome. Awesome.
Gotcha. Very cool.
That's great. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And then you brought up the power plant, man. So what got you into that tryout? I know you had started wrestling locally at that point. And
I was wrestling with a buddy of mine, Greg Anderson. He wrestled. He started in like Marion, Ohio, around Mansfield. There was a guy named Kid Collins there, and I went and visited the school a couple times, met him, did security for some of their shows. He wanted me to come to the school, but he was one of the guys who used to he was one of the Saturday morning jobbers, Kid Collins, if you remember him. I just didn't get a good vibe at his school. Not that I didn't like him or the school. I just didn't. I had a gut feeling, and I wanted to try something else. Mm-hmm. So my buddy Greg, he got in there, paid for $2,000 or whatever the hell it was. Started wrestling there, and then him and I were still doing independent stuff. I actually started training in a ring in what was the name of that little town? It was a small town, even smaller than the town I grew up in. There was a guy that was a volunteer fireman. He did some wrestling, and he had a ring set up in an old abandoned like elementary school that the volunteer fireman owned. So I contacted him, and we became friends. He's like, "Yeah, you can train down here." He didn't charge me anything. So we just go in there, and then some of the guys from Kids Collins School and my buddy Greg, he'd come over there and we'd work out and started doing some indie shows. And, then, of course I seen the commercial for the WcW power plant, and cause I watched it, I watched the Monday Night Wars like everybody else that were wrestling fans back then. And, I was more partial to WcW. I think that's why I did the power plant. Plus I really didn't know how to get in WWE. They didn't really have anything like that back then.
Yeah. Right.
So, I bit the bullet and probably did it the hardest way I could, from, a guy from a small town has no wrestling connections whatsoever. Go down, pay my $250 and get my ass beat for 3 days. And looking back on it, was probably the hardest thing and the best thing I ever did to get in the wrestling business, because at least I earned my stripes,
Yeah, and I know I've seen you mention the fact that like you at points regret that you didn't tell him that you had some experience going in there, because you probably would have been treated a little lighter. But at the same time, like, now you can say that, like, yeah, no one can take that shit away from you. You did it.
Yeah, well, I'm not really sure back then if it would have mattered. Now, when we went to the new power plant with Terry Taylor and that, it probably would have mattered a little better. Yeah. But down at the old power plant, I was afraid if I told them, they'd just say, F, beat the shit out of me worse. You know what I mean? So I never told them.
Yeah. Do you think they made a lot of money with those tryouts?
Oh,
with people who showed up and couldn't make it after.
Well, think about it, dude. They usually had 20, 30 guys every tryout, $250 a piece. I'm not sure what that comes out to.
How many?
It's like $6,000, right?
How many were they doing?
Like once a month at least.
Wow. Yeah.
So they're raking in the cash, man. Yeah. And very few guys made it in there. So they knew. Yeah. I mean, they didn't want guys to make it in there. Like me and Johnny the Bull, I had him on my show Thursday night. You weren't supposed to make it through there. If you made it through there, like, fuck, one guy made it, like, shit, we can't just take us $250, But if you made it in there, you had to pay the $3,000, I think it was, which I never had to pay, but I think that's what the fee was.
Yeah. Wow. That's wild. Yeah.
So I'm not sure how many guys actually had to pay that. I know I didn't, just because right at the time I moved from Ohio back down there after my tryout a couple months later, and I was going to start paying them. And that's when Paul Orndorff came in, took over the deal. We were going to go to the new power plant. Whoever went up there had a contract, so you didn't have to pay.
That's awesome. Expectation versus reality going into the power plant, man.
Shit, man. I expected to do great things, man. I never had a doubt I was going to make it. I just knew how my mentally and physically, I was in great shape. There wasn't nobody in better shape than me at the power plant as far as cardio goes. The only one that could probably compare to me is Elix Skipper. And I don't know if you guys remember a guy named Hardbody Harrison.
Sounds familiar. No.
Yeah, he used to do like the Saturday night stuff. He's actually in prison now because he had a prostitution ring down here in Georgia.
Maybe that's why it's familiar.
So yeah, the guy was unbelievable talent. He just couldn't keep his mouth shut.
Yeah.
But I always forget Elix Skipper was in the power plant. I remember Elix Skipper from early TNA.
Dude, Elix Skipper was a phenomenal athlete, bro. He was a little older than the rest of us down there. But man, he was one of the hardest workers. Me and him used to do stuff together, and we always roomed. We never wanted to go out. We wanted to get up early and work out. We always wanted to be ahead of everybody else. So and it showed when we were in the power plant. I talked to Sarge about it on my podcast. I had him on there, and I even asked him, because a lot of guys don't believe me. They think I'm blowing smoke up their ass because I tell them, a lot of times I'd run shit in there as far as like the drills and stuff, because Sarge knew, I was a badass. I mean, plain and simple. I nobody could hang with me cardio wise. I was one of the meanest motherfuckers in there, because nobody was going to come in there during a tryout and push me around in the place that I'm running. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I've choked out several guys at the power plant, and guys test me all the time, and they learn real quick that I wasn't the one to mess with down there.
Is that something you're still interested in doing? Is like working with future wrestlers, doing that kind of training with people?
Shoot, man, I thought about it. There really ain't no money in it.
Yeah.
There have been several guys open up gyms that I've known, and they haven't made it. The problem is with this, when you run a wrestling school, man, I'm not the type of guy that likes to blow smoke up people's asses. A lot of these guys tell them, oh yeah, you give me $3,000, kid, I'll get you on TV. I know these people, I know this guy, and this guy wrestled on TV. So these kids buy that shit,
Yeah.
And I just can't do that to somebody, man. I can't lie. I never have been able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I sort of feel like anytime you get into that, it's going to be a little shady, and you have to.
Yeah, you got to work the gimmick. You got to work the gimmick.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of gimmicks, you get into WCW, and you're just Allan Funk. You're on the was it the Saturday night show?
Yeah, we're doing a Saturday night. Me and Kid Romeo were actually the first two out of the power plant to do a Saturday night. So yeah, we started doing that, and then from there, me and Mike Sanders started doing a tag team. It was called the Double A Team.
The Double A Team, and you had and I'm going to ask you real quickly before we get into that, because that's a great story. You had a brief feud with Barry Horowitz.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, man. I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, what was that like? You got any good stories about Barry? Because we actually are going to be interviewing Barry in 2 days.
Oh, really? Well, make sure you tell Barry I said hi, man. He
I
was
will.
always
Oh,
a first class dude, man. He was a great guy, man. He's one of the guys that I wish I would have kept in contact with, but unfortunately I didn't. I'm sure I could probably get in contact with him.
He's on the Facebook, man. So.
Yeah. I've said something to him on Facebook and he responded to me before, but yeah, man, I have a lot of respect for Barry. At the time I had I grew up watching that guy wrestle, and even though people called him jobbers or whatever, I got respect for anybody that bust their ass and don't what they want to do, and and they're trying to earn their spot there, man. I can't say nothing bad about somebody trying to do that,
And not only that, but I mean, you look at what he did as a jobber, and he's like the first guy, like jobber in that era, to come break through that and get those surprise wins. And like, there's a reason people remember that name still.
Oh yeah, dude. He was a great guy, man, and when we realized we were going to do that gimmick, he talked to me quite a bit, and we were working things out, and me being the young kid, and I was Angry Allan doing at the time, and they had me come, and we did a pre-tape. I don't know if you remember seeing that, where I walk up to him and ask him if he ever won a match, and he's like, I will tonight, kid.
Yep.
Because I didn't really know at that point I was wrestling him, and then they kind of did the gimmick where I went up and asked him that real cocky wise, and he's like, I will tonight, kid. So
that's awesome.
Then I ended up beating him, and we were supposed to do a bunch of stuff, but unfortunately that never happened. Yeah. But he did a run in one night, and then I did a run in on him, and then it just kind of just fizzled out. Like WCW back then, they didn't have any direction for nothing, bro. They did stuff that they didn't know what the hell they were doing back then. They just did stuff to do stuff.
Goldfish doing the booking, they forget 1 minute to the next.
Yeah, it's crazy how that worked back then, man. Just when you think you're getting you're going to do a little program, with a guy that you looked up to growing up, you just get your feet wet a little bit, and you're like, and then then you reel you back in, and you don't get to do anything.
Yep. That's too bad. That would have been really
unfortunately
fun.
Stuff doesn't change, because that seems like that's how WWE still works. So
well, they might, because I can't even watch that stuff up there right now.
It's gotten real bad.
It's so bad.
The only thing that they produce that's really like, if you like good wrestling, is NXT, and the NXT UK stuff is fantastic for like the stronger style, because it's the UK brand. But those things are good. But yeah, everything else is just a mess, because there's too many cooks in the kitchen, it feels like.
Yeah, I got when, like with Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, Rico was down when I was in HWA after WCW got bought out. We went up to Les Thatcher School in Cincinnati. Then we go down to OVW, which was Danny Davis, and Jim Cornette had Cena, Batista. Shoot, they had all kinds of guys that were on TV that were actually going to be put on TV. Randy Orton, we'd go down there and do these TV tapings for them. They did a local Saturday or a Sunday afternoon show, so we'd go down there and wrestle the different guys. And I wrestled D'Lo Brown, Eddie Guerrero, and
was this the Heartland Wrestling Association?
Yeah, the HWA was called. Okay, Cincinnati.
Yeah, because I watched some of those matches. I watched that D'Lo match.
Yeah, that was kind of shitty match, man. I wrestled D'Lo.
I was like, wow. And it was 2001 or something.
Yeah, it was right after WCW got sold out. 2000, 2001, probably, I would guess.
Yeah. And Jim Cornette was doing the commentary and stuff. What was that like? What was the, because you wrestled a number of matches for them.
Yeah.
Well, I got a lot of people.
Dude, it kind of sucked down there. They treated the WCW guys like fucking shit, bro. They had us coming in there. Their whole purpose for us to come down there at HWA was to train the guys coming from Memphis, which was Umaga, Rosie. You had Steve Bradley, Lance Cade, which he passed away, but he was up there with Trevor Murdoch. They were doing a gimmick. You had all these guys down there, Steve Blackman and Eddie Guerrero, Brian Adams. We're wrestling with all these guys, and we're helping Steve Regal, Dave Taylor. Haku was down there. We're basically, what we're doing is coming in here, working with these guys, getting them better, and then they fucking fire us 2 weeks before Christmas. They just brought us down there to treat us like shit and get whatever they could out of us to help them train their talent.
That's too bad, because there's so much good talent. I was looking through the whole list of all the matches that they had and all the stuff that was being done, and like, Yeah, the talent that was in that promotion at that time is incredible.
Dude, we had a main roster down there at HW. I mean, we had Val Venus. You know, we had a lot of the guys, like I said, Haku. We had Steve Blackman, which he's fucking great, dude. He was one of the coolest dudes.
A favorite when I was a kid.
Oh, dude, he was unbelievable. As a person, I mean, he was a great worker. But as a person, he was cool as shit, you know. And then I got to work with Eddie Guerrero all the time, man. Eddie Guerrero put me over all the time, bro. And he was awesome. You know, just working with Eddie Guerrero, you know what I mean? It's like we'd go out to eat dinner, we'd go to the gym, and then he'd put me over, man. It was incredible.
That's awesome. Yeah. What a story to be able to say, you know, like, hey, I wrestled probably one of the greatest in-ring wrestlers of all time.
Dude. Yeah, no shit. Yeah. And you know, Eddie Guerrero, man, he treated all those guys down there, even the independent workers that never done anything. He'd wrestle matches with them. He'd let them do whatever the hell they wanted to do. Like he put everybody over, man. And you don't find that.
Yeah, he seems like such a legit, human being. Like,
oh, dude, he was awesome, man. He just, awesome. He just let alcohol and stuff get the better of him, you know. But he was a great dude, man.
Yeah. I mean, it happens. Going back a little bit, and going to someone who you were a little scared might not be as cool as as Eddie was to you. Talk about your fear of getting the shit kicked out of you by Arn Anderson.
Well, I guess I wasn't too afraid, because I mean I would have fought him if I had to, and I would have hoped I'd have been able to whoop his ass, but I probably would have held back a little bit because I wouldn't really want it to. But so me and Mike,
get you some heat too.
It might have got me a little bit of heat. So, but you never know. Hell, Vince probably would have called me and freaking give me a job up there.
There you go.
Just for whooping his ass. So me and Mike Sanders were doing this AA team gimmicks. He's above average. I'm Angry Allan. So, that's where we got the AA. Yep. So we're thinking, AA Arn Anderson. We're backstage in Knoxville, Tennessee. We're wrestling these two independent guys that were working with Burt Prentice up in Nashville at the time. So they brought him in to do I think it was like a worldwide or a Saturday. I think it was worldwide we were doing a taping for. So, backstage, we're coming up with all the stuff to say. So, and Mike at this point was scared to death to talk on a mic, if you believe that, considering how he turned out with the Natural Phillies.
Yeah.
But if you YouTube any of these videos, they're funnier than hell, because you can see Mike standing behind me, lip syncing everything I'm saying, because we went over the whole promo backstage. So, I grabbed the mic and I'm like, yeah, this is a AA team. And I'm kind of making him look stupid. So I'm like, I'm Angry Allan. This is average Mike Sanders. He'd whisper to me, it's above average. And I'm like, oh, sorry, above average, and then I'd say we're the AA team. It only takes two of us to do what it took for you guys to do, and we don't even need a horse. So when we're backstage, I'm asking Mike, I'm like, you sure we ought to say this? Because we're nobody at this point. We're thinking, shit, Arn's going to be pissed. And then I'm thinking, I told Mike, I said, you know what? That's what gets noticed. If you do something you might not have permission for it, let's just fucking do it. And he's like, all right, we'll do it. Fuck it. You're the one saying it. You're the one that's going to get the heat, not me. So I'm like, yeah, no problem. So I said it. Well, the first time I did it in Knoxville, Tennessee, me and Mike come walking back through the curtain. Who's standing there? Arn Anderson. He's looking like, and I'm like, I look at Mike. I'm like, oh, fuck. So we walk back, and Arn looks at us, man. He fucking gives me a hug. He's like, dude, that was fucking awesome. Thanks for the, he's like, yeah, man, because he was, I guess, happy that we, had that kind of reference for the Four Horsemen and him, and he liked it. He didn't say anything negative about it, so we kept doing it.
That's awesome.
That's very cool
story. Yeah, and sometimes those are the moments,
Yeah, right. I'm glad we did it now.
Forgiveness, not permission. Sometimes.
That's right.
Yep.
So you finally get up there, and you're sort of doing that, and then you're just traveling with the company.
Yeah. And we're doing, WCW Saturday night shows. We're pretty much on every one of those. Those were on Wednesday nights. They'd film them, but they were brutal tapings, man. You'd have freaking 40, 50, 60 matches. You'd wrestle 2 times to be on both weeks, because they only did one show every other Wednesday. So it was brutal for the crowd too, man. It was such a long show. It was so bad.
Man, that's brutal. And the hair, would you start wearing that outside of the ring at that point?
Yeah. So I had my hair spiked up. I used to have the high and tight, and I was kind of going a little thin, so I kind of kept it like that. So then I let it just start growing. I hadn't been to the hair salon. I don't know how long. So I just had my wife trim it up for me, around the neck and stuff. So then it's getting, longer and longer. I'm putting it up with his hairspray, holding it up. So then me and Mike are walking through an airport in West Virginia after one of the shows, and Terry Taylor and Vince Russo sitting there, and they're looking like, what the fuck? So they call me over, and they're like, hold on a second, you actually fucking wear your hair like that? And then I was like, yeah, man, it's, if anything else, I wear that and pink socks, get a little bit of heat, you know what I mean? So they were like, man, we're thinking about stuff for the, guys from the power plant and stuff. And they said, we think we might have something for you. So come and talk to us at the next show. So, the next Nitro, I remember talking to Vince, and he was kind of updated on what he had in mind for me, which was the actual character was called Kee Wee. It was based off a Saturday Night Live character that Chris Kattan and David Spade kind of did on. He was a mango. Yeah. So he told me to go buy a VHS tape of the Saturday Night Live shows so I could see the mango character, and his cousin, I guess David Spade, did something. He said he wanted me to act like these guys. So, I went to the mall and bought a freaking VHS tape and watched all the mango stuff on Saturday Night Live. And I wasn't comfortable doing it. I don't think I can act like those guys can. And I was never comfortable with it, but it was the only thing I had to work with. So I had to do whatever I had to do,
Yeah. And that's one of the things I wondered, because I was watching some of your matches as Kee Wee, and one of the things that was mentioned, it might have been Schiavone on commentary, but one of them says he's like a flamboyant Lou Thez.
Yeah.
And all I could think of is, like, if you've got a guy who works like Lou Thez, why the fuck are you like, why is it like, let's do the Scoofy Saturday Night Live shit with him?
Yeah, dude, like, I felt the same way, trust me.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, you hear like, in wrestling, like, the best characters of these people turned up to 100, and
yeah,
and how hard is it to, I know you mentioned it was hard just to, like, you appreciated having like Papaya with you, or Paisley with you, because you didn't have to like talk as this character because it just didn't feel that comfortable to you or natural to you.
Yeah, it's kind of brutal, really, man, because I always tell everybody I'm pretty aggressive, and I kind of had a Paul Orndorff style wrestling. That's why Paul liked me down at the power plant. He always told me that I reminded him of him, and he just loved my aggressiveness. And I consider myself like a wrestler between like Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, and even Brian Pillman, kind of like that type of character. And I always wanted to do like the Angry Allen and be like a kind of a no nonsense.
Yeah.
Lou Thez, Chris Benoit.
And that's the thing is, like, when he dropped that Lou Thez reference, like, it just, like, I was like, God damn it. Like, that is like, it's such a, and like, like, all credit to you, like, to be, but it hit. I was like, man, yeah, really, like, watching like you go, like, that same energy, that same, like, and it was like at the time where you were getting into the Angry Allen stuff.
Yeah.
And, you were still Kee Wee, but then, you get pissed off and you're Angry Allen, and you had that, Jekyll and Hyde stuff. And yeah, when you get to turn that on, like, it was so good. And I feel like today, like, if you had gotten the chance, like, like in NXT or in AEW, like, that's the style, like, right now today is like, it's so over, and it blows my mind. Like, and
that's why I can't watch the stuff on TV nowadays, bro, because I see these guys, and not that I'm the greatest wrestler to ever live, but I know if given a chance, I could have done something in the wrestling business. I mean, I could have been a main character, I could have been a main event guy. There's no doubt in my mind, and I just never got over that hump. I never got I got a chance in wrestling, yes, but I didn't get the chance that I think I deserved with all the hard work that I put in.
And just with with your style and talent, I think that's completely fair to say. And on that, how was, like, because that was sort of like their creation, what was working with Russo like? Was he a good guy to work with?
Yeah, I mean, everybody always asks me that about him and Bischoff, and I can't say nothing bad about either one of them. They both work with me. They give me a shot. They just there was no direction. They really didn't know what they wanted to do from day to day, and unfortunately, that's the way it was. And there's nothing we can do about it now. But
we we had a great experience with him. He was
Yeah.
really, really nice and very genuine.
Yeah, they were always top notch with me, man. I can't say nothing bad about him. You know, even like some of my buddies, like, fuck that guy. I'm like, well, they didn't do anything to me other than try to help me out. So I really can't say nothing bad about them.
Do you think if there had been more, you know, a little bit more focus on the wrestling and, you know, people in charge who really cared about the in-ring stuff, that that shot and that opportunity would have been different?
Well, I tell you, if Bischoff would have been able to buy the company like he was going to, I think I would have been one of the, I would have been coming up to the main roster, man. I mean, not that I wasn't, but I would have been one of the main guys. He used to come and get me, and he loved my work, man. And I tell the story all the time. Jane Engel, she was a lawyer for WCW. She was up working with Eric Bischoff at the time. He was in the process of buying the company right when Vince came in and bought it, and he'd already taken over probably for the last month of the show up to when Vince McMahon bought it. And Janie Engel would always come to I remember we were in Indiana. Janie Engel would come to the locker room. She's like, "Hey, I need to talk to Allan Funk. Is he in there?" You know, somebody, I think it was the Wall coming got me. He's like, "Hey, Janie wants to talk to you out here." I was like,
Wall.
Shit. Yeah, I was like, what the hell does Janie Engel want to talk to me about? So I go out there in the hallway, and she's like, "Hey, Mr. Bischoff would like to see you in his office right now." And I'm thinking, oh shit, this is either going to be real good or real bad. Back then, you know, you got Paul Orndorff telling you, you know, if you don't fucking do, you know, if you don't have a good match tonight, kid, you're fucking fired. You know, so you're like, shit. You know, I'm thinking I'm going to go in there and Bischoff's going to say, "Look, if you don't fucking produce tonight, you're fucking out the door." So I never knew what was going to happen. So I walked in Bischoff's office. He tells me to have a seat, and he's cool shit to me. He's like, "Hey man, I need a favor tonight." I said, "Yeah, whatever you need, Eric." He goes, "I need you to put Rick Steiner over." Because at this point, I think people weren't taking Rick Steiner as serious as they wanted them to, because they were, you know, Ric Flair was doing that thing, and I used to come out and, you know, yell at Flair and say I wanted to be on his team, and he'd never recruit me. So he was recruiting all these guys. And so then, I did a job for Rick Steiner that night. You know, I put him over like $1 million. Bischoff come backstage afterwards, said, "Bro, that was exactly what I wanted, man." He said, "You know, you're going to make a lot of money in this business. You're going to be one of my top guys. You know, I appreciate everything you do. I love your work. You know, your body's great. You know, you're only going to the top from here, man." So he used to tell me that like every week, bro. He'd bring me in his office and have a meeting with me. And, you know, I'm fired up, dude. I'm thinking, shit, man, this is what I work for. This is what I want, man. I'm going to be one of the top guys and make a lot of money, you know?
And then the WWF comes in and
right out from under him, dude. It kind of took the air right out of me, bro. I really didn't know what was going to go on. And I've told this story several times too. We're driving. I wasn't booked on the last pay-per-view, which was Greedy down in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So I had some buddies that played pro baseball that I used to go see when they were in Atlanta or whatever. Sean Casey played for the Reds, and Steve Klein, he was a pitcher for the Cardinals. So we went down to me and Ross Foreman, which he works for TNA now. We drove down there just to catch some baseball games.
Nice.
You know, so then, of course, on our way back up, we're stopping at the pay-per-view. So, you know, we stopped the pay-per-view. You know, I'm there. They see me there, and they say, "Hey, man, you want to work tonight?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I got my gear. Why not?" I wasn't even booked on the show. So they ended up booking me with Jason Jett. We fucking tore the house down, man. We had a hell of a match. I don't know if you guys ever saw that match, but, you know, we're curtain jerker like always. You know, they want me to open up the show. Yeah. And they do that for a reason, because they want you to set the tone for the night. They want to have a good match.
Yeah, you want to get the crowd amped up for that first
engaged
match.
Yeah, man. So, you know, Jason Jett, man, he's fucking great, bro. We tore the fucking house down, and even went backstage, and all the guys like, "Holy shit, bro! We can't follow that shit. That was awesome." You know? So
it was a great match.
I mean, it was like 15, 17 minutes long. We had a lot of time, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, that must have been a really wild experience backstage.
Well, prior to that, Kevin Nash called us and told us that Vince had bought the company.
Yeah,
and we're like, and I'm like, "Oh shit, what like." Fucks, you know, I said, what's he going to do with my contract? What's going to happen? You think? He's like, as far as I know, they're going to pick up everybody's contract, and then they're going to try to sort through shit and see what they're doing. Yeah. So, you know, I'm like optimistic. I'm like, this might be a good thing for me. You know, maybe I'll go up WWE. Maybe these fucking guys will do something with me, you know, and which never happened. But, you know, I was trying to make the best of it, trying to stay positive, you know, and then we go to the Nitro in Panama City Beach the next night, which I was booked on that show, but I never did anything. walk in there, you see all the WWE stuff. You know, you see Shane McMahon, Briscoe, and Patterson walking around, and it finally hits you, man. You're like, fuck. And it was a weird vibe that night. Everybody was kind of it wasn't like a normal WCW show. Everybody was always, we had real good camaraderie in the WCW locker room with the guys. And it was just kind of flat that night. Everybody was kind of really not sure how to act or what to say. And, you know, everybody was just kind of walking around like, what the fuck are we going to do? What's going on? Like nobody knew what was going on.
Yeah. There's no idea of what comes tomorrow, basically.
Yeah, it's gotta be just a terrible mood everywhere. Like,
it was, but you know, I tried to make the best of it. There was since I wasn't doing nothing on the show, there was a bunch of college kids. I think they were from West Virginia, and they had balcony, you know, hotel rooms. So me and I can't, Sean O'Hare maybe, and Mike Sanders, and I think Shannon Moore, a couple guys. We went up there and knocked on their door. And they opened the door like, holy fuck. So we come in, we're partying with these guys. And, you know, we're watching the show from the balcony. And then I go down, I get the Nitro girls, bring them up. And these kids are fucking like, holy shit, I got the Nitro girls in my fucking room and shit. We had a blast.
That's awesome.
I didn't get
that's like Bill Murray style, man. Like show wedding crashing style. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was cool, man. If I would have been that age, man, and you know, one of the WCW wrestlers would have did that for me, I'd have shit my pants. You know,
guarantee they tell that story every time somebody brings up wrestling to them.
Oh, absolutely.
100% guarantee. Oh, I partied with these guys in the in the.
Yeah, we had fun. It was a pretty cool night.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So. Like when you got paired with like Paisley and then Papaya and like the valet gimmick, did that, I mean, you were married at the time, did that cause any like strife or issues at home? Or
man,
like,
I tell you what, my ex-wife was so freaking jealous, bro. The first woman they give me, Mark Madden brings in a fucking stripper from Pittsburgh. And she's like really don't have much of a body. She's real tall and got huge tits. She was a stripper. So Mark Madden, I guess, frequented this strip club, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you'd be great on TV. He'd take you to fucking Nitro, you know." And they fucking use her. That's kind of shit that happened at WCW. You know,
that sounds. That sounds.
Where the hell else is that going to happen? So I remember one night I picked this girl up. I got her in my arms. She's got her arm around me. I freaking French kiss her all the way the ring down the ramp. Well, my ex-wife wasn't watching the show that night, but I used to tape the show. So she was a nurse and she worked in heart surgery. So, you know, when they're in surgery, the doctors are talking about shit and all the doctors knew me. And we used to go to all these doctors' house. They have parties and stuff. So the one doctor's like, hey, Tennille was my ex-wife's name. He's like, hey, Tennille, did you happen to see Allan last night on TV?
No.
And she's like, no. And he's like, oh my God, he fucking made out with his chick all the way down the ring with big boobs. And, you know, my wife, I call my wife. She's like, what the fuck? She goes, all your shit's getting thrown out in the yard. You can just get it when you get here. I was like, Jesus. God dang. So, you know, I had to smooth that shit over. And, you know, she used to tell me every week, you know, you don't need to kiss these fucking women. And that. I said, listen, I can't tell them no. It ain't, I mean, it's not that I wanted to go there and kiss these fucking chicks because I really didn't. I'm just thrown in a situation where I got to fucking work with it, or I'm getting fired. I mean, there's no other way around it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, and then they give me BB, which was on WWE. Her name was Papaya. Yeah. Well, I think they actually called that first girl Papaya too. So
the first girl was Papaya, and then you had Paisley for a while, who she was great. Like,
oh, Paisley was awesome. But before that, I had you remember BB in WWE that Dudley's put through the table, the EMT lady.
Oh yeah.
So Kathy Dingman, that's her real name. So we're still good friends this day. So I have her. She does a couple shows. She's engaged to Bob Holly at the time, and Bob Holly's more jealous than my wife. So
oh Jesus, that's a scary thought.
Yeah, dude. She wouldn't leave the damn locker room. I could never find her. I'm like, you know, Dale Torberg's good friends with her because she's down in Daytona. I guess they knew each other. And he's like, hey, did you meet Chris yet? I'm like, bro, I hadn't fucking seen her. We're getting ready to do a pre-tape. Where the fuck's she at? Like, so then I finally meet her, and we didn't even really talk, to be honest with you. We're like, you know, this is what we're doing, whatever. And she comes out there for the pre-tape, and basically that's it. I hadn't seen her the rest of the night. So then we did it like the next week, and you know, she's telling me she's not allowed to leave the locker room because Bob Holly's pissed off. And I was like, fuck, maybe Bob Holly and my wife ought to get together and go bowling.
Right.
And, you know, so so it didn't work out. She left, and then that's when they give me they put me in a feud with Prince IK, which was awesome. They let me beat him on Nitro, like the first time I ever was on Nitro in Cincinnati. I go over
the artist, right?
Yeah, the artist, man.
Yep.
Mike he's a great dude, man. He was one of the he was so underrated, man. He was so good.
He was good, yeah. He
Really
looked tough
good.
as hell too.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like him, man. And we had a great, he liked shit stiff. I like shit stiff.
It was a good match, man.
Oh, dude, we used to beat the shit out of each other. We
Yeah.
did a pre-tape backstage where me and Paisley was in the bed, and he comes in, and we start fucking fighting down the hallway, and I mean, we're beating the shit out of each other, and it was a great program, man. They started just like with the Barry Horowitz thing. Do that for a couple weeks.
Wasn't she Paisley, or wasn't she his valet?
Yeah, she was with the artist. Yeah,
she just couldn't get enough of the Kee Wee.
Yeah, they had her come down to the pre-tape with when I had BB, Kathy. They wanted Kee Wee to have the stigma that even guys look at him and go, "Man, this fucking guy's incredible." Like, I don't know what it is about this guy, but I just can't take my eyes off of him. He's just got that, I kind of put him in a spell. That's what they wanted originally, but they never really said that on TV. Yeah. So she gets mesmerized. She ends up leaving Prince. And that's how that feud was started, which would have been awesome, man, if they would have just let that go. But they never, we never did nothing with it, just like the Barry Howard stuff. 2 weeks,
just like everything else.
Yeah, it just ended. Like nothing ever happened with it again.
So I got one more quick wrestling related question, and then we're gonna talk Ohio football. But first, my last question. Ohio State football.
Thank
Sorry, I'm a baseball fan. I'm an Oakland A's fan, so I apologize. That's why I have Shane here to do the dirty work on that. But my last fan. Oh, nice, awesome. My last question is how much did that fucking glitter suck? How bad is that?
You know why I loved it? Because everybody else fucking hated it. So I'd put it on. Goldberg actually got it banned at one point. I did a match with in Chicago, Illinois. I wrestled Lance Storm, and I don't know if you.
This is the one I was thinking of, because I was like, "Good Lord, that glitter is fucking everywhere for the next month."
Oh, it was awesome, man! It looked like I had a tiara on my head with that glitter.
Yes.
So it got
every time you got
everywhere.
Hit. Oh, every time you got hit, it was like a kung fu movie. You know how they put the cornstarch or whatever on their feet for the kicks? It looked like
it was awesome, bro. I loved it, man. Because you see Lance Storm in the ring, like, what the fuck? He's got this shit all over him
everywhere.
And, so then right after that, Bill did a segment. He come out and he come backstage. He was fucking pissed, bro. He's like, this is fucking, Bill thinks he's the manliest man in the world. So he's like, this fucking shit. What the fuck? We can't have this fucking glitter. I'm Bill Goldberg, And, I'm like, this is fucking horror shit. So yeah, he got it banned for a minute, but I start using it again.
That's awesome. As long as it's after his match, you're good.
How many times do you think I wrestled after Bill? But I tell you, the night I wrestled Bill, I didn't have any glitter on.
Yeah, I bet you would get real stiff. But you and Bill got along well.
Yeah. Me and Bill were good buddies outside the ring. And I tell everybody this, and I'll tell Bill this. He's difficult to work with in the ring. The match we had, it wasn't much of a match if you've ever seen it. But whatever we did in the match, I pretty much came up with that whole match because he didn't want to do anything. He's like, I'm not selling for you, kid. And I'm like, I don't fucking care. I figured you weren't. Like, I just told him, I said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to slide in the ring. I'm going to start kicking your punch. He's like, wait a minute, kid. I'm not selling nothing you're going to throw at me. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Just go with me. So he's like, oh, and then I said, hey, check this out. I want you to spear me when I bounce off the ropes. And he's like, oh my God, I'm going to fucking kill you. And I said, yeah, but it's going to be awesome, man. He's like,
look, it was a great spear.
He didn't want to do it. I had to talk him into it. Like, it took me about a half an hour to talk him into it. And I said, just try to time it, Bill. So I'd springboard, because I used to do a springboard sunset flip off the middle rope.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll kick you. You step up like I'm going to springboard sunset flip you, and then you just come running and fucking take me out. Yeah, and he's like, God spear. Dang. So we timed it a couple times, and he's like, dude, I can't do it. He goes, I will fucking kill you. I said, Bill, listen. I said, I know you're going to fucking kill me. I said, it's going to be the best fucking spear. I said, if I'm going to have a match with you, I want to get something out of it. I want people to fucking remember this shit. And, because it was like a 30 fucking second match, and I wanted to do something where people would be like, fuck, that was a 30-second match, but that motherfucker got killed. And, I had to wrestle Mike on the pay-per-view, 6 days later. And the point of it was they wanted him to hurt me so I could, wrap my ribs up and stuff. So when I went to the the pay-per-view that I wasn't 100% because the Natural Born Thrillers always ganged up on me or whatever. So we did it, and he actually agreed to it. And afterwards, dude, I went back to the locker room, man. He had his own locker room down there. This was in Augusta, Georgia. So my ex-wife actually was there. Doug Dillinger, the head of security company, goes, "Hey, Bill wants to see you in his room." So I walk over there, knock on the door. Me and my ex-wife walk in. He fucking gives me a big hug, and he's like holding my head, and he's looking at me, staring. He's like, "Dude, that was the fucking greatest thing somebody's ever did for me." And he's like, "I owe you big time, man. I owe you big, whatever you need something. I owe you a favor, brother." So I was like, "All right, cool, man." And he was like, "Man, that was incredible. That was the best spear ever." And that's the reaction I wanted. So I'm glad he actually finally agreed to it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Shane.
Hello. Yeah, I live in Columbus. Born and raised an Ohio State fan. Just my dad. I never had a chance. So quick first question. Quarterback this year. Who's going to win?
You know what?
Win the battle?
That's what I was going to ask you, man. You know what? I missed the spring game. I was at the chiropractor. By the time I got home, the spring game was over. So I really didn't get to see much of it. But I'm not even really sure who they got. What's going on with the quarterback situation? To be honest with you.
Okay, so
I know there's 3 guys, right?
Yeah. You got C.J. Stroud, Kyle McCord, and Jack Miller. Jack Miller's your more like atypical pro style quarterback. Kyle McCord is kind of that. I want to say maybe like closer to like a JT Barrett, but runs less. You know what I mean? He's kind of that middle ground. And then you got C.J. Stroud, who's the complete hybrid dual threat deal. I think he's going to win. I think all signs point to him winning. I mean, obviously, as an Ohio State fan, your quarterback has to run 10 times a game.
Yeah, usually. Well, I mean, you still got Master T coming back. I'm hoping this guy's going to do something this year. But what I'm excited about is Jeremy Ruckert, man. I love this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Olave, you got Garrett Wilson coming back. Right there, those 2 receivers and the damn tight end, bro. You need a quarterback that's going to find these guys. I mean, these guys are unbelievable, man. And Jeremy Ruckert, man, he's so underrated, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of the issue with being an Ohio State fan is tight ends just don't get used. You know what I mean? And when we started figuring it out, like the last 2 or 3 games last season.
You see a couple of them damn catches
especially in that Clemson game.
Oh yeah, him and what was the other guy? Farrell.
Yep, Luke Farrell.
Dude, them some bitches had some good catches that game, didn't they? They held that team together that game, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your Ohio State Mount Rushmore? It's players, coach, whatever.
Well, I mean, you know what? I love Ryan Day. I'm not. Okay. I won't say Urban Meyer, even though I like Urban Meyer. I just think there's too much drama surrounding Urban Meyer.
Agreed.
So having said that, that's why he wouldn't be on my Mount Rushmore, Ohio State. But of course, I got the best linebacker ever, Chris Spielman. He's definitely on my Mount Rushmore.
All right.
Because he's from Massillon, Ohio, which is right down the road from where I grew up. Yep. And he was on a Wheaties box in high school. I mean, how many guys in high school get on a Wheaties box?
I mean,
he's on a Wheaties box in his Massillon uniform.
I mean, I'll tell you, I've never been on a Wheaties box, so I no clue.
Kee Wee should have been on a Wheaties box.
I mean, hell yeah.
So let's
get that petition going.
Right, I definitely got Spielman. Spielman's on. He's probably the top of my Mount Rushmore. And then Eddie George, of course. He was great. Archie Griffin, only 2-time Heisman winner. And I'll put Ryan Day on there as a coach. But I did like Jim Tressel. But the reason I like Ryan Day because he took a guy that I was not sold on at all last year with the quarterback situation. Coming from Georgia, Justin Fields. Did not like this kid at all. He really can't read defenses, and I don't think he still can. But he couldn't have went to a better place than where he went with Ohio State and Ryan Day working with him. I think Ryan Day restructured that whole offense around this kid. Actually, the whole team.
He started running the spread.
And I think he restructured that whole team around this kid, and that just shows you how good of a coach Ryan Day is, taking a kid that can't read defenses and put him in the situation he was in, and he actually produced.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a like a 1-2 read quarterback. Hopefully that gets better because I would like to see him succeed in Chicago. I think the Bears deserve a quarterback, and I think he could be that for them.
Well, I've heard he's doing pretty good up there.
Yeah, I mean the one thing you can't take away from him is he is a just a complete and utter athlete, man. He is better than you genetically.
Oh, dude, he's. I mean, I've always said that about him. He's a great kid. I've heard nothing but good things about him. I know people that know his mom and dad, and they've like grew up around their neighborhood or whatever, and doesn't have a bad thing to say about him or his family, which is good to hear. But yeah, I wish him the best. It just goes to show you how good of a quarterback coach or just a coach in general Ryan Day is to be able to take that kid and do with him what he did last year.
Hey, I mean, it shows how good of a coach Ryan Day is being. What, two years into being a head coach, and
and he won a couple 3 games when Urban Meyer got suspended or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
before that.
Yeah, first time head coach at this big of a university. I mean, that's the weight of the world on your shoulders, right?
Oh yeah, that dude's incredible, man.
You mentioned Urban earlier. What are your quick thoughts on Urban in Jacksonville? How do you think that's gonna play out? Do you think he's gonna be a good NFL coach, or do you think it's gonna fizzle and it's gonna be a mistake?
Well, I mean I like Urban Meyer. I'd like to see him do well. I just don't know if he's going to or not. I guess it depends on what he's working with down there. He's got to rely on other people around him. But by the way, did you happen to see the AEW pay-per-view when they went in his office and he was in there and they were fighting?
Dude, I was in Louisville and me and my girlfriend were watching. I started laughing my ass off. I was like, "Holy shit, it's Urban!"
And did you hear what he said? He said, "Holy shit!"
Yeah,
I'm like, I can't believe Urban said, "Holy shit!" So,
but how much they paid him for that one?
Probably, I don't know. They probably did because I mean they freaking wrecked his office or that area.
So just a quick follow up to Urban here. How many catches do you think Tim Tebow will have in the NFL calendar season this year?
Shoot, I don't know, man. I hope Tebow comes in there and freaking is a monster. I hope he just because the guy's a good Christian man and people ridiculed him for that. I want to see him go in there and break records. I want to see him do all kinds of stuff, bro. I want him to run wild. So I hope he does some good stuff down there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any issue with Tim Tebow. It's just insane to me that, being as old football wise as he is and never played tight end, it's just one of those insane things. So have you ever been to any Ohio State Michigan games?
You know what? I haven't, bro. It's embarrassing to say that, but I got to say no.
Neither have I. So
yeah.
Hey,
and
neither have I. So
wow.
All three of us.
But I tell you what, like when I explain stuff to people like down here in Georgia and stuff, I won't even say it. I just call them Michigan. I won't put the M in there, and because that to me that's worse than saying the F word 10 times, in a row. That Michigan word,
that M word.
Yeah, I can't even say it.
Isaac, did you know that around here, Ohio State campus, the week that we play the team up north, usually they will remove every single M from every single keyboard. On the football
every
premises.
Buildings everywhere.
Yep, everywhere.
That's dedication that I can get behind, man. If you care about something that much, where you're going to do that, I don't think there's anything I care about enough to go through a goddamn campus that size and take off all the M's.
I mean, short of obviously with the world football, you got some crazy rivalries over there. I don't think there's a better rivalry in sports than Ohio State.
ESPN did a special on that, man. The greatest rivalry in sports history, man. And if you don't think it is, you're crazy.
Yeah, but to kind of follow up on that, and I think I know where you're going to go with this, but I want to ask anyways. Do you think that the Michigan rivalry is being devalued every year now? Because every single year it's an Ohio State win. I mean, we've won the past. It'll have been 10 years the next time.
Yeah, I think 2011 or 2010 was the last time they won, right?
2011, and that was
probably when
Luke Fickell year. Yeah,
Luke Fickell. They didn't even have a coach really. He was an interim coach and he was a defensive coach before that. So, but he did good that year. I mean, they lost 3 or 4 games, I think. But I mean,
he did great with a shit situation, man.
He's doing great in Cincinnati, man.
Yeah, I mean it's good to see. I think everyone likes Luke. But do you think the rivalry is going to end up meaning nothing if this this sort of thing continues for the next 10 years?
No, I don't think so.
I mean,
I just think Ohio State's got way better recruiting, and dude, Jim Harbaugh's a joke. I can't believe this dude is still there. Like, you had Rich Rodriguez. These guys aren't coaches, and Harbaugh does actually good recruiting, and you can't get guys to do shit. Like, I mean, he's just a joke. I can't believe they actually give him a contract extension last year.
Yeah, they're paying him close to what Alabama is paying Nick Saban, and paying Nick Saban, and that's just the most insane thing in the world to me.
This guy's got something on somebody, bro. Like, somebody's not letting him go because they don't want to. They're gonna have to tell their wife they've been having prostitutes over every day. I don't know what's going on up there in Michigan.
It sounds about right.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm good. Isaac, you wanna take over the
what's I have a follow-up. What's worse, the Michigan fans or the fans, the Georgia fans where you're at?
It's got to be the Michigan fans, but
I guess you have to deal with the Georgia fans every day.
I do, but there's a lot of similarities, man. I call these Georgia fans fair weather fans. These people every year. Oh, you wait till next year, or we got to the national title game, 2 years ago, and if it wasn't for Alabama, we would have won that game. Oh, really? Well, if it wasn't for a lot of teams, we'd have won it every year too. I mean, yeah. But they haven't won a title since 1980, 41 freaking years. Yep. And these guys talk so much shit. And then these kids come in the gym and they'll see my Ohio State hat and they'll say shit, and I'll be like, I'll look at these young kids and I'll be like, are you fuck? I said, name one person on the 1980 team other than Herschel Walker. And these kids just like a deer in the headlight. They're like, fuck, I barely even knew Herschel Walker. But you're gonna sit there and talk shit to me as a Ohio State fan when I could make you look stupid if you want to talk football. You know what I mean?
Ohio State fans are probably the most hated college football fans. Ohio State Buckeyes.
And you know why? Because Ohio State's been so consistent for so many years, bro. They're the team that everybody wants to beat because they're the team that's fucking good every year.
It's like the Yankees syndrome.
It's the one thing though is we don't have any bandwagoners. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about somebody like faking liking Ohio State because everyone else just hates you. So
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, even the year Luke Fickell coached and they lost 4 games, dude. I watched every damn game to the end. You ask a Georgia fan, they're losing by a half a point going into the third quarter. They already got the TV shut off. They're like, fuck these guys. I'm never watching this shit again. Ohio State will be down 20 with 2 minutes left. And I'm really actually thinking they're going to pull it up. And a lot of times they do. So I don't never turn an Ohio State game off.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, it's the highs and lows of being a real fan of something. It's not always green grass and high tides.
and going back
in 2014 when they beat Alabama, living down here was great, man, because there's actually probably more Alabama fans in Georgia than Georgia fans. So when Ezekiel ran all over them that day and had that 85-yard run,
85 yards up the heart of the
I had a doctor friend of mine. He kept texting me when they were losing. You fucked that, and then so when they started winning, I'm like texting back, hey, what's going on, and he would not answer me. Like these fans are so damn. Oh yeah, dude! All of a sudden, he didn't know how to answer his phone, and I was calling him.
This?
So yeah, man, and then they just made Oregon look fucking stupid in that first year of the playoffs.
Oh yeah, no, that one wasn't even close. I mean,
but I bet some guy after that game that Ohio State would win the next one the year later. I bet him $20. just being a dumbass.
Amen.
Well, you know what? I don't work with that guy anymore, and I hadn't seen him. But actually, I saw his wife, and she goes, "Hey, you still owe Mike $20." I said, "Yeah, I hadn't seen him." And his wife's a doctor. I said, "You guys don't need the damn money."
Going back to something you were talking about a little while ago, and having to do the job for Steiner. Yeah. Was that? I mean, I know you made him look great, but was that one extra tough knowing that he spent so long wearing those jackets to the ring?
Dude, I tell you what though,
these hideous jackets.
I'm good friends with both the Steiner brothers, and we never really talked about that much. That kind of wasn't even in the equation, honestly. But those guys for actually having to wrestle for Ishkin, I got a lot of respect for those guys because they've always treated me good. I'll tell you a quick story though with Rick Steiner.
Please,
he was trying to fuck with me one night. So we're in I think we're in Mississippi, Louisiana, somewhere around there. I can't quite remember, but I'm in the locker room. I remember, and Goldberg's in there, Billy Kidman, Hugh Morris, and maybe Van Hammer and a couple other guys like that. So here comes Rick Steiner. He comes in there and he So Rick gets right in my face, right? And I got my pink outfit on. I didn't have my shirt buttoned up. It's just kind of hanging on my shoulders. So he looks at me and he's pushing me and shit. And then I kept getting back in his face because I was like, man, I'm sitting there looking around. Everybody's like, fuck, there's about to be a fight. And I'm thinking, fuck, I'm gonna have to fight this son of a bitch. So and not that I was afraid of him, but I mean,
it wouldn't be a fun one.
No, not really at all. So I'm thinking, shit, I might have to fight this guy. I got to just, I gotta man up and fucking go with it. So he's like pushing me. So I was getting in his face. So he grabs my pink shirt, fucking rips it right in half. And I look at him and I don't think he realized what I was going to do next. I think he thought I was just going to maybe cry and fucking shit my pants. I don't know. So I get in his face and I'm like, I was like, real tough guy ripped my shirt. Oh, ain't that fucking tough. And he was like, he kind of looked around and everybody, I hear Hugh Morris was like, holy fuck, he's going to get killed. And then you see Rick Steiner really didn't know what to do when I did that. And I was like getting in his face. I said, oh, tough guy. I said, what the fuck are you going to do now? Rip my pants? I'm taunting him. And I'm thinking to myself, you're an idiot. Just shut the fuck up. But I didn't know what else to do, So I was like, I'm not going to punch him. I'm going to wait and see what happens. I really thought about just fucking jumping on him, start wailing on him just to see if I get the better of him. But then I didn't. And because I kind of looked at him and he really didn't know what to do because I think he thought I was just going to fucking bow down to him and, kiss his ass. So ever since then, he's had a lot of respect for me and we've been friends ever since that day. So
that's awesome.
I'm glad I didn't back down from him.
That is a great story, man. Well, I don't want to keep you too long, but I would love if you just take one moment and plug your stuff again. Let us know where to find your podcast and anything else you got going on coming up.
Yeah. If anybody wants to follow me on Instagram, it's Funk Allan, FUNKALLAN. Same with Facebook, Allan Funk. I'm on Twitter, Allan Funk 5. I promote my podcast on there mostly. It's called Get Funked. It's a MWA World Podcast Network. It's a guy out of Australia started a podcast network. He works with Vince Russo. They got a show on his network. So he started this MWA World. You can go to YouTube, look up MWA World, or I guess you could look up Get Funked. Twitch.tv/MWA World. Awesome. That's Mike Whiskey Alpha World. And you can follow us on YouTube and Twitch.
Awesome, man. Well, again, we really, really appreciate you joining us today. And it has really been an honor. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for hanging out, man.
Talking some football with me.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, I'd like to do a shout out to Melissa Coates too back here. She was a good friend of mine back in the day when she was down here in WWE Deep South. Melissa Coates, she passed away a few days ago. So
rest in peace. Absolutely.
Yeah, rest in peace, Melissa. She was actually dating Sabu.
Yeah.
So prayers to Sabu and his family.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you so much. Thank you to DDJ. What do you say with DDJ for pushing me to get in touch with you and also the inspiration to talk football tonight.
Hey, let me ask you guys something. You guys are putting this show. It's going to be on what night is it? Thursday?
Thursday.
Is that right?
Thursday night. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So because I had you guys on my calendar to do the show at Thursday, and I was like, well, I think it's these guys. I was like, I got confused. Honestly, I've had so many damn requests to get on podcasts. I'm trying to get everybody in so I can kind of do like the podcast tour and promote my stuff and help you guys out at the same time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All good, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And
again, Shane, go Bucks.
Yep, go Bucks.
OH, right?
Yeah, there was a guy that did that yesterday. I was on a podcast on Russo's network. It's called what do they call that? Wrestling with Tragedy. You guys heard of that show?
Yep.
With Angel Medina and Piers Austin, and then they got a guy named Hill Kevin. He's like, oh wait, and I was like, I was like, God dang, this is awesome. So I think he's actually from Ohio, but he lives in Georgia now. So, and I told Piers didn't quite understand it, and I told Piers, Shane, if anywhere you go in the States, I mean, you could be anywhere. If I'm in a parking lot and I yell OH, somebody, even if they're not Ohio State fans, going to yell IO.
Usually I know that. Even I know that, unless you're one of those fans.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
The guys from Michigan ain't going to do it. They'll probably get shit on the
floor. well, on that, man, I'm gonna end the broadcast. We appreciate it so much.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.